With it being the start of the NBA season, many players entering the fourth year of their careers have already signed their rookie extensions, but one player who hasn't is Raptors big Precious Achiuwa. So why is that? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports for another Toronto Raptors video. We have a very big season coming up here on the channel, so make sure you're subscribed and helping me on my road to 16,000 subscribers for all this great Raptors content. Videos like this, shorts, as well as live watch-alongs for almost every single Raptors game. Also remember to hit that like button if you're enjoying this particular video along the way. But many players, as I mentioned, have signed those rookie extension deals, but the Toronto Raptors have avoided providing that to Precious Achiuwa, and it kind of made small-ish sort of headlines because, after all, Precious Achiuwa was a first-round pick and selected pretty high in that draft as well, going 20th overall to the Miami Heat in the 2020 NBA entry draft. After 1 year, he was traded to the Raptors in that deal that sent Kyle Lowry to the Heat in that sign and trade, but Achiuwa was really good for the Raptors out of the gate. That first season with the Raptors was mightily impressive, mostly down to the knockdown three-point game and his ability to be a switchable defender. Yeah, the stats aren't really electric. They're not world-beating here, but Achiuwa, especially in the second half of the season, especially in his minutes coming off the bench, was an incredibly effective player for a Raptors team that went on to win 48 games, and perhaps even more impressively, he was outstanding in the playoffs against the 76ers. I know the Raptors fell to the Sixers in just 6 games, but Achiuwa was phenomenal in that season and really gave us that excitement going into his second season with the team. His third year in the NBA last season, but he really fell short of those expectations. Statistically, there wasn't a major drop-off in many of the categories, in any of the categories really, except for the three-point percentage, which dropped tremendously, which made him much less valuable out there on the court. He wasn't spacing the floor for his teammates, and just flat out, he wasn't knocking down those shots. Yeah, the 2-point percentage cleaned up. That was nice to see, but something that isn't really measured statistically very well, at least not really perfectly, is the defense. Defensively, Achiuwa was horrendous last season, and there wasn't really any place you could hide him. At least in his first season with the Raptors, we were operating for the entire season without a proper big in the team. Achiuwa was communicated with when he arrived at the team by Masai Ujiri that the Raptors were a positionless team. Achiuwa fit the bill of somebody who was positionless because seemingly he could guard the 1 through 5 on that end of the court, and he was defending the rim very well. When asked upon, he was also going outside and doing a great job as well. I mean, just look at the playoffs in particular, going from defending the outside to defending the likes of Joel Embiid, and though Embiid had a pretty good series, Achiuwa did as good as you could have expected him to do against a player of that caliber. But last season, we really saw that drop off. Before the acquisition of Jakob Poeltl, the Raptors were trying to once again deploy that positionless system. Achiuwa himself in the big slot, really as the base, the anchor on defense, just could not stop anything. I remember watching games just play after play after play. Like literally could not stop anything on the inside. So we no longer had the capability of using Achiuwa as a big. We were only really allowed to use him on the perimeter on defense, which decreased his value because you didn't have that ability to defend the rim. Even with Jakob Poeltl coming into the team, we tried initially to use Achiuwa as the backup big. So if Poeltl wasn't there on the floor, you had Achiuwa defend the rim. But even that became a problem for the player. He saw ultimately minutes, game time decrease, and rightfully so. So we're really hoping going into the fourth season, we can once again see the glimpses of this outstandingly high ceiling that we have seen from the player, and we saw in his time at the University of Memphis that made the Raptors really want to take Achiuwa in that 2020 draft. We didn't have a high enough pick and ultimately took Malachi Flynn, 29th overall, but easily had Achiuwa been available, Masai Ujiri would have snapped up the Nigerian. But now we're going into that fourth season where many of these players, as I said, are signing those rookie extension deals. It was not forthcoming to Achiuwa. And looking at it on the surface, it does make a good bit of sense here. Achiuwa is coming off of a not so great season by what his standards were set this season prior. So the Raptors want a little bit more time to see exactly what he is before going into a figure that Achiuwa would likely be expecting. And the reason that I'm suggesting that Achiuwa wasn't getting the figure that he wanted, or the reason that I'm suggesting that there was perhaps an offer on the table that Achiuwa did not take, was a press conference that occurred leading up to the Raptors' first game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Achiuwa did not want to comment specifically on his contract extension, but he wanted to make a point about his abilities defensively, where Achiuwa essentially said he is one of the top defenders in the NBA. There really are only a handful of players, maybe 5 players in the entire league, including himself, who can guard the 1 through 5 on defense effectively. Now, as far as his ability to guard the 1 through 5, once again, I'm going to reiterate, we saw his ability to do that diminish last season, but certainly it's a player that has the capabilities of being a positionless defender, which is why the Raptors were so keen on trading for him when Kyle Lowry wanted out and we orchestrated that sign and trade. That sign and trade looked really good out of the gates. At this point, it doesn't look so good in retrospect, considering the turmoil Goran Dragic has had and continues to maybe have in the franchise with the trades that have led from having him on the team, and from Achiuwa not quite rising to the heights that we were expecting of him initially when we traded for him, and more especially after that incredible first season with the team. But what I get out of Achiuwa's comments here, this is a bold claim to make. I certainly wouldn't go as far as to say Achiuwa is one of the top 5 defenders in the league, but it's a bold claim. And it seems to me like it's a bold claim brewed from frustration. Now, this is just pure speculation from my part, but based on the agitation I sensed with the comments here from Precious Achiuwa, it does seem to me like this is a player who is frustrated and maybe a little bit upset with the offer that he received from the Raptors in the offseason. Of course, the player wants to lock down his future. The player is not shy of any injury trouble, so it's always good to secure your future financially and not have to worry about that going into a contract season. But once again, he probably wasn't going to get the figure that he was expecting to get, and it seems like that is exactly what happened for the player. So it could lead to a little bit of contract beef here. It could lead to a little bit of a disconnect between the front office and the player, but ultimately, the player now has the opportunity to go showcase himself this season, and I see no reason he can't go out and perform admirably and earn himself a contract in the range of what Onyeka Okongwu got. I mean, the Raptors had a rising star on their hand. He made the Rising Stars team in his first season with the Raptors, which is why I decided to go with the star claim in the title here. He was a star. He was a rising star. In fact, of the last few spots available in that season, Precious Achiuwa was selected as a rising star ahead of Onyeka Okongwu, who has just signed an extension, his rookie extension, with the Atlanta Hawks, worth 4 years in the range of $62 million, right around a little bit more, $15.5 million a year. I see no reason why Achiuwa can't go out this season, perform admirably, perform a little bit more closely to expectations, and get himself a contract in and around that range with the player he beat out for that Rising Stars team a couple of seasons ago now. But based on Achiuwa's previous season, what we've seen from him now, I'm losing a lot of hope for how far this guy can go in his NBA career. I think he has a future in Toronto regardless, even with what he displayed last season, but not as high as I was in the summer of last year, heading into his 3rd NBA season, his 2nd season with the Raptors. So what is his value right now? My expectation would be the Raptors were offering in and around the $8 to $11 million range. I can't really see them having gone a lot higher than that, especially when they have to consider they have 3 key free agents coming up in OG, Pascal, and Trent, who they have to worry about paying. And they have to worry about next year, Scotty Barnes' rookie extension, which they definitely are going to want to lock down a player of his caliber. So it's not a big deal. The Raptors have Achiuwa as a restricted free agent if they want him to be one next summer, but I would expect he was receiving offers in the range of $8 to $11 million. He felt around the league, Achiuwa, that players near his ability were making a lot more. So the onus is going to be on Achiuwa here, and if anything is going to help spark him, getting him back to those levels we saw 2 seasons ago, especially the knockdown 3-point percentage in the defense, it's going to be this. We talk about contract years all the time, players rising up to the occasion. Achiuwa 100% has the ability to do that this season, and my goodness, the Toronto Raptors are going to need it. They need shooting, and they need defense any way they can get it from any player. Achiuwa more than has enough ability to provide that consistently for the Raptors and be a key contributor this season if he wants to do that. What do you guys make of Achiuwa's situation? What do you think his value is right now from a contractual standpoint? And what do you think it will be in 1 year's time? You let me know your answers in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports. We have an amazing season ahead. Make sure you tune into our watch along tonight as the Raptors face the Minnesota Timberwolves in their first game of the season. Let's go out and start with a win.